Eddie Chavez, Ruben Nava, and Jesse Romero. Jesus 911.
Jesus 911 two-man car. We're 10-8. Myself and my partner Eddie Chavez. Eddie, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, sir. I'm reporting for duty, sir. That sounds like a trainee one. He's a trainee. He's real excited to be at work.
That's right. Yeah, well, we're 10-8. Car letters are John 3:16. That's not going to change. And we're on Soul Patrol. That's what we're doing here. We want to take people to heaven. How? By giving you some good Catholic briefings, some good Catholic intel, because, you know, it's today's gospel. Jesus tells us, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And we know that the truth will set you free. So here at Virgin Most Powerful, we are dedicated not to put out the garbage that CNN puts out or Planned Parenthood or the Democrat Party. We're here to, or Hollywood, we're here to put out the truth, because the truth will set you free. And if you embrace the truth, you will save your soul. Eddie, we want to talk about infestation today, a house infestation.
Right.
And it's typically, you know, the secular world calls it haunted houses.
Right.
We call it demonic infestation of houses.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's a good article that I didn't know about, that's something that happened in the White House under President Barack Obama that I found rather interesting. I think that would be a good way to start the show.
Yeah, absolutely, Jess. And you know what? It's very important. We're going to get into why it's important. We're going to see how prevalent it is. So just stand by for that as the show goes on. But go ahead and start it, Jess. Go ahead and start.
Sure. You got it. It's the article is called. It's a short article, and we got. Well, there's a lot to comment on. Here's what it says: the White House fly infestation, a spiritual component? ? Okay, so the New York Times in 2009 reported that the White House was suffering from a fly infestation. The story came out that during that same week that President Barack Obama decided to extend federal benefits to homosexual couples. Well, yeah. What's this whole thing about
Take number one there.
Yeah. Well, in Hebrew, the word Beelzebub is translated as Lord of the Flies. And we read in 2 Kings chapter 1, verses 2 to 6 and verse 16, how King Ahaziah, after seriously injuring himself in a fall, he sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub. He was the god of Ekron, a Philistine city of Gentiles, whether or not he would recover. And the prophet Elijah condemned King Ahaziah to die by Yahweh's words, since he had sought counsel from Beelzebub rather than from Yahweh himself. Violation of the first commandment, big time.
Strike two.
Yeah, so Beelzebub, who is he? Well, according to Scripture, he's none other than the devil. He's the prince of demons. And in Mark 3:22, here's what St. Mark writes about Beelzebub, quote, and the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said about Jesus, he is possessed by Beelzebul and by the prince of demons. He cast out the demons. So notice what Mark, the apostolic writer, says, that Beelzebub is who? The prince of demons. Who's the prince of demons? Satan. The article says, so is there a spiritual component to the White House fly infestation? I mean, the week that President Obama extends federal benefits to homosexual couples? While some will no doubt dismiss the very idea, such people usually dismiss supernatural realities altogether. We should all reflect, especially as Catholics, on the words of the world's leading exorcist who passed away a few short years ago, Father Gabriel Amorth. In his book, An Exorcist Tells the Story, page 156 and 157, he writes this, quote, I have seen with my own eyes that houses suddenly become infested with flies, flying ants, repulsive insects such as scorpions or other unidentifiable pests, which just as suddenly and completely disappeared after we sprinkled holy water throughout the rooms or exorcised the place, close quote. So just as Beelzebub was allowed to test Israel's faithfulness to God, so too in our time, Satan, the prince of demons, he roams about seeking whom he may devour. And so the question is, back in 2009, was the White House fly infestation evidence of demonic presence and influence there. Here's something else interesting, Eddie. Our current first lady right now,
Mrs. Trump.
yeah, Mrs. Trump. I just had a senior moment.
Yeah, you had a senior moment.
Okay, our current the first lady right now, Melania. Okay, Melania Trump. Gosh, she. You can look this up on the web. A few months ago, she called in some people, I think Catholics and Protestants, to do deliverance prayers in the White House, and she also had all kinds of things removed from the White House that presidents had received that she felt were occultic and superstitious. So she did like a Christian cleansing of the White House and called in people to do spiritual warfare prayers in every room. I just thought I'd just throw that in the mix.
Throw it in there. Just, it's interesting because, as you know, some of my background in law enforcement had to do with working in federal buildings. And it's crossed my mind that in the course of these duties, because, there's spying that goes on from country to country. I've thought to myself, because I work in a SCIF. A SCIF is called a Sensitive Compartmentalized Information Facility. These are what a CIA and different buildings that are erected in order to house that kind of communication between stations in other countries, et cetera. And there's certain building requirements in here, and it has to do with certain criteria. I don't want to put too much information out there, but a lot of criteria that they put in the building. Cell phones have to be checked in, et cetera, et cetera. I've thought to myself, well, what if these bugs were something put in by a foreign government and they could, but then I came back to reality and I says, you know what? We're dealing with something that's spiritual here, not necessarily high-tech tradecraft. This is something that needs to be dealt with in a different way, just like Melania did. So this is an interesting topic.
And I'll tell you, let's just put it out there. The devil is the father of lies.
Yep.
And President Obama, let's just be honest,
yeah,
objectively speaking, a lot of pieces of legislation that he signed, including that one where he was extending that week where the White House was infested with flies, where he was extending federal benefits to homosexual couples, that's all based on a lie.
That's all
two
sinful.
men can get married.
Sure.
And we, I think as Catholics, we always try to find a natural explanation. I think we've all been infected with a little bit of modernism, but I think God is going to say at the end of time, I sent you this message, didn't you get it? I sent you this message, didn't you get it? I mean, it reminds me, Eddie, for example, something else that I think offended our Lord. When Pope Benedict resigned, I don't know if you remember, but right after he resigned, like 2 hours after he announced his resignation, the tower of the Vatican was hit twice, not once, Eddie, twice by lightning bolts.
Yes.
Now, we could say that was the coincidence. Well, guess what? As far as we know, that's never happened before.
That's true.
That's never happened. And, I mean, the last time a pope resigned was, like 600 years ago.
Yeah.
I think God does give us these signs, and we just want to deny the obvious.
We're ignoring obvious signs. Just that's the issue. Is that this culture that we live in is denying, ignoring clear signs from God. I mean, like you said, Jess, when was the last time the lightning bolts hit two times hit the Vatican? Especially at the day or hours after a pope resigns. This is terrible, especially when we know now that some of the reasons that were happening at that time, and that has something to do with what we're talking about. Just one of the things I want to talk about really quick before we go to a break is something that's happened to me. And we're going to get into it as we examine the next topic, which is something from Adam Bly. But what happened was day before yesterday, I went home, and my wife said, I killed about 10 flies. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, I killed about 10 flies. And as we talked about it in the next hour, there was about 9 additional flies. So there was a total of 19 flies in our home. Now, I text it out and ask for prayers and you guys, because nobody wants to immediately believe it, right? So
we were all incredulous, whereas Eddie's pulling our leg.
Yeah, but I didn't fully explain it to the day after. That was yesterday, and we're going to get into some of the reasons that these things happen. I didn't panic. I didn't put out a SOS or anything, but certainly there's things that you guys help me with the prayers, of course, but there's certain things that cause demonic infestation, and we're going to get into them. We're going to talk about them in detail. So if you want to weigh in on this, on this topic, give us a call. It's 888-526-2151, and that way you could be a part of it.
And what was funny at first, Eddie, I thought you were just playing with us. Okay, so we kind of started busting your chops.
Yeah.
But then the second time you text, it was like, hey guys, I'm asking for your prayers, okay, not your jokes. And I said, oh, this is serious.
Yeah.
And it was funny. You put us all. You put us all on blast. You said, you know what? I'll tell my Protestant neighbors to come pray for me. Okay, how's that? Then I knew. I said, oh, this is serious. Okay, Eddie's not joking here.
Yeah.
And that night, by the way, I went to the church and prayed a rosary, and I prayed for the Chavez family on my knees.
There you go. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
And on Ruben too.
Yeah.
Ruben, after he also sent some jokes your way. He saw that. Oh, Eddie's serious.
So we gotta say,
I know Eddie. Ruben's a prayer warrior.
No, of
also,
course.
So.
Yeah, of course he is. But this is the reality. Just even we here who do a Catholic radio show and do it in an awesome way. We don't get the full effect of things that until we're given all the information. So we've got to be very careful if somebody's asking or expressing some sentiment. Let's look into it and find out. So you guys, you gave me a good teaching point there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Lord of the Flies this episode. We'll be right back. Don't change that dial.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. There's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet three men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites The Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Jesus 911, where chivalry and courage are back in style. Hey, by the way, May is the month of dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I remember, Eddie, when I was a kid at Santa Rosa School in San Fernando, California, we used to take flowers to our Blessed Mother. The nuns there would gather us together, and we would take flowers, and we would sing some Marian hymns. And let's not forget that the month of May is dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. So I would tell you to lock and load your rosaries every single day. Say, you know what? Every single day I'm offering a rosary for the sins of the world and to the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And also remember that the month of May is also Mother's Day, where we don't only honor our earthly mothers, we also honor our heavenly mother. Eddie?
That's right. Burn up those rosary beads this month for sure. Yep. Okay, Jess, we're going to talk about demonic infestation, and we're going to take this actually from an article that was written by an individual by the name of Adam Bly. And Adam Bly,
he's a Catholic demonologist.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. He's got several books out there. One of them I'm reading, and very, very interesting. But this is what he says about demonic infestation when it comes to demonic infestation at all. Here's what he says. Demonic infestation is when demonic entities either try to scare with typical ghost tricks or entice with spirit communication and eliciting sympathy. The infestation is usually a result of some kind of invitation, either by the current residents or a previous one, or from a curse or spell cast by a practitioner of black magic. The goal of the infestation is to increase awareness of the spirit, increase interaction with it, and finally start to control the life of the victim or victims. Once some amount of relationship is formed, additional free rights have been given, the infestation turns mean, violent, and controlling. Just we warn people about this all the time. This is a common trick of the demonic, is to appear as the ghost of a loved one, sick child, or some positive figure such as a wise spirit guide or holy angel. I'm going to read that again because this is important. A comic trick of the demonic is to appear as the ghost of a loved one, a sick child, or some positive figure such as a wise spirit guide or a holy angel. These types of infestations often have their origins in spirit communication, such as the use of spirit boards, seances, or other divination techniques. The apparently helpful or needy spirit will press for more and more communication and interaction and then obedience. So Jess, very, very a basic tactic here that we should be aware of. One, they first of all try to introduce themselves as somebody familiar to us, somebody that will strike at our sympathy. So a small child, the small child, he appears as the ghost of a loved one.
You hear a lot of people say that.
A lot of people.
Small kids in my room. I saw small children walking down my hall. That one's the common one.
Yes. And then it tries to get someone to communicate with it. Try to say, well, who are you? Or is this somebody that lived in this house before, et cetera, et cetera. And what it does, it initiates this and what that is actually a level of communication. It's giving up a certain right there that we shouldn't be talking to demons, but we are talking to demons. And little by little, it increases until at some point it takes over your life and you become obedient to that spirit who you believe is somebody from the beyond.
There's a lot of saints who will actually testify. You can read the writings of St. Padre Pio and St. John Vianney, and they would say that they would have demons appearing to them like their guardian angel, demons appearing to them like a fellow friar, like a fellow monk or fellow priest.
Right.
So some of the holiest people in the Catholic Church have attested to these false apparitions that these demons oftentimes will take the figure, the appearance of somebody who's pious and holy, like an angel or a saint. But also, what Adam Bly here says, Eddie, to connect the thought, is that generally speaking, this common trick of demons, Adam Bly says it usually has its origins when people are involved in spirit communication, such as spirit boards, seances, or other divination techniques. So that's generally how this happens.
Right.
It's not common for people to have the Padre Pio, St. John Vianney false apparitions. Those are very holy people that,
right.
God is, God is, these guys are at another level of spirituality where, God is allowing these things to happen. But generally this happens when people are involved in illicit communication with the
Communications.
dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. So some of the phenomena it can include the following: tapping or knocking noises on the walls or floors, the sound of footsteps on floors or stairs, disturbances in electronic equipment like digital clocks going backwards, appliances turning on or off, lights turning on or off, the sounds of or voices the sound of voices or animals sounds in the walls, rooms, or outside. Jess, what I want to mention is this. A day before yesterday, when we found that many flies in our home.
Eddie, let me ask you, have you ever found in all your years of being married, have you ever found that amount of flies in your house at one time?
No, Jess, it happened before. This happened once before, and I consulted a priest about it, and he told me that this was the Lord of the Flies. This is a demonic influence in the home. And I said, the father says, nobody's doing anything. There's been no communication, no seances. We don't have that Ouija board. He says it's possible that they're trying to dissuade you from doing good. And at that time of my life, we were involved in confirmation. We were doing a lot of good things, and I chalked it up to that. We said some prayers, Jess, and it went away. But now it's come back, and so there's a few things that I wanted to discuss about that, because it's very interesting. So I have heard some animal sounds or attacks in the walls. Now, this is not often. I have to say, don't go over Eddie Chavez's house because it's haunted. No. This is something that's very rare. But once in a while, we'll hear a knock, hear something on the wall. But then we get the bottle of holy water, we say a rosary, we bless the wall inside and out, and it's done. It's taken care of. But I'm afraid that a lot of people if they experience this in their home, that they're going to take that step with a spirit communication and begin something there that's forbidden. And this is the situation, I think, is that, and then plus the fact, we always examine the reality and the actual event that's occurring. So when I have a dog outside chasing a possum or a mouse into a woodpile, then I say, okay, that's what it was. But sometimes that's not the case, and you have to bless the home. And that's what's happened. So it's interesting.
So yeah, you look for the natural.
Exactly.
And then you go to the supernatural or the preternatural.
Right, exactly. And this is what happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, continue, Eddie.
So fluids or other things appearing on walls or floors.
This is all demonic infestation, by the way, for the audience. Eddie's sharing from Adam Bly some of the things that Adam considers demonic infestation of a house. That's what Eddie's going through right now.
Yeah, and these fluids and other things appear on walls or floors. That was found in Amityville Horror. There was some different cases where these things were found. Bad odors with no natural explanation. Black shadow clouds that look like smoke but don't dissipate. So here's a black smoke cloud that doesn't move away or go away or empty into the air next to it, and this is something that's indicative of a demon. Small black shadows on walls or floors that move with no natural cause. So there's no reason for these shadows to be moving. There's no change of a light situation, and they move without cause. So these things are some of the things that occur. It says that many of the specific complaints of demonic infestation are explainable. Look for natural explanations in the home or environment, including, and this is what Jess and I were just talking about. It says animals in the home or walls, high electric fields from power transformers or bad wiring. These can cause hallucinations. High levels of radon gas. It's a radioactive gas that comes from the earth into the basements of many homes that may cause hallucinations at high levels. Old or defective wiring. Malfunctioning heating or air conditioning. Neighbors' activity, something going on with the neighbors, either electronically or otherwise. But these are some of the things that we have to look into before we jump to the conclusion and start calling people and having priests come over. We have to look for the natural. Yeah. It says you need to verify the phenomenon the client has complained of, and documented in some form. Photos, video, and sound recordings can be very useful. Now, Adam Bly is sure to say that he does not suggest the use of EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, to talk with spirits. If you determine that there are no natural explanations for the phenomenon, you should observe. You should move to attempting a resolution to the phenomena. So this is something that the EVPs are out of the question, because that enables you to communicate with the spirit. So that communication through EVP or otherwise is forbidden. And if you're unable to determine the natural cause of it, then you should move towards attempting a resolution to the phenomenon. That's usually certain other methods by which we invoke prayer or the blessings of a priest, etc.
By the way, in case you don't know who Adam Bly is, he's the Catholic demonologist. And how did he get his calling? It's very interesting. He was a psychiatrist working at a state prison for many years, and he was dealing with the inmates, especially the ones that had mental illness issues. But Adam came to the point in time in his field of social science where he was talking to these people, and he said, some of these people don't have mental illness. He's a Catholic, and he says, some of these people have something, I can't put my finger on it. And he started seeing manifestations, diabolical manifestations that had absolutely no human explanation for. There was no medical or human explanation for some of the things that he saw. And so that's what started him on his newfound vocation as a demonologist. He's taken all his experience. I think either he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'd have to look at his website again. But he took all that experience working in state prisons for years and dealing with some of these hardcore offenders. And he said, hey, these guys don't have mental illness. These guys have a spiritual entity in their body as a result of they've invited them in. They talk to them as a result of bad living. And this kind of opened up an entire new vocation for him as a demonologist. And now he lectures to exorcists.
Yeah.
He gives courses to exorcists, and he's a consultant with some of the top exorcists in this country. They call him in for some of the hard cases, and he's there along with them, consulting, praying, just kind of maneuvering. And he's also been told by his spiritual director, because he's doing this at such a high level, he's been told, you can't get married and we don't want you to have children. So he's kind of like a consecrated single to God. And he understands it. He says, I'm subject to so much attack personally that he says, I couldn't allow my wife or kids to participate in some of this, because he does a lot of what's called expiatory suffering, and he's okay with it. He says, I think God's called me to do this. Very interesting fellow. We'll have him on the show next month. Probably.
Interesting. Okay, good deal. We'll be right back. This is Jesus 911. We're talking about Lord of the Flies. We'll be right back.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. You know, there's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet three men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Jesus 911, Soul Patrol. I'd like to thank Southern California law enforcement, Eddie. They just, right now, the Hollywood Ripper serial killer is on trial right now. He was terrorizing Southern California for quite a while. And not only has he been arrested, but he's standing trial right now. So, God willing, he gets whatever justice he has coming to him. We're talking about house infestation. We've got a phone call. We got Brian from Texas. He's got a question or a comment. Brian, what's your question?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Blessed. We're blessed. Thank you.
My question is on keeping your house spiritually protected. Like me and my wife, you know, we have our house blessed. We have sacred images. We have a blessed candle. We pray the rosary, the divine mercy. So let's say that if we have family members come over that might be in mortal sin, but we don't know that, how does that affect our protection on our house, or does it?
No, if they live there, and
Right.
if they would be there like on a day-by-day basis, and where they're putting their Harley Davidson pictures on the wall and Budweiser pictures and, you know, girls in bikinis, it would affect your house. But the fact that they're in and out, that, you know, you have spiritual authority over your house. You, Brian, and your wife, you're the priest of the house. You're the pastor of the house. The house is your domestic church. You pray over it. Your house is probably all prayed up. You probably got all kinds of religious objects there. If anything, people that come to your house, I got a lot of secular people that come to my house. When they walk in, you know what they actually say? They go, "Wow, I feel different. This feels different. Man, I've never felt a house like this." They don't know how to say it. You know, sparklets guy, guy fixing, the pure water purifier. They'll say stuff like that. They're looking around the house. They see images. They go, "Wow, I feel like peaceful in this house." That's how they'll say it. So, yeah, Brian, if anything, your house is going to have an effect on them. So long as you don't let them move in, you're not going to have any problems.
Brian, just something else, too. This is, of course, that you're not doing any events, right? So there's no thing going on like a seance or anything like that. And I don't think that you would do that, having sacred images, a lit candle, etc. But anyway, those things can happen. Now, the only other way that it may affect your home, if they're Satanists, they leave something behind, they put an object, they give you a gift that might be cursed, something like that, then that might be part of it. But otherwise, I think you're fine. Like Jess said, you're the priest, you're the guy in charge of the spirituality of your home, and it looks like you're taking care of it.
Yeah, I mean, the only people that, besides my family that comes over, the only people that come knocking on our door is Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't step in. So once they see all them sacred images, they
Right.
kind of stay at the doorway, and that's it. So
Yeah, so I think you're good, man. So I think you're doing the right thing. Keep it up, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wish I wish all Catholics would do what you're doing, because that's exactly what John Paul II has called us to do: make our house a domestic church.
Yep.
Good job, Brian.
yes, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank y'all, guys.
You bet. Take care, man. God bless you. We have a secondary call. Just
Yeah, we got Maria Varano.
Maria, are you on?
You're on. Go,
Hello.
Maria, you're on. Go, Maria.
This is actually John Verano.
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
about that. I'm just reading
No
what
problem.
Go ahead. How are you?
That's actually my better half. I'm doing good. I just wanted to make a comment on the Auxilium Christianorum prayers.
Yes.
Just I buy approximately, like, on average 2 of your books every week, and I give them out.
Wow.
And I've found that those prayers, they've, like, changed my life, for one. Where I'm not having a lot of strongholds have disappeared in my life, I should say.
Wonderful.
And I think if we can get more people on board saying the Auxilium Christianorum prayers, it'll help a lot more people. So we can kind of, like,
Thank you,
promote that more
John.
on the show.
Hey, John, my wife said thank you. She gets your orders all the time.
Oh, hey, Anita. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I say, when I give that book out to somebody, I sit down with them and I go right to page 117 and I talk to them a little bit about it and I try to sell that. But I think that's a great selling point for people to try to, get rid of all these little visitors we have in our houses.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
Definitely. And it works either way.
visitors.
It works either way, John. Either those people that are drifting away from the faith, that are letting these things come in and entertaining the thoughts of them, or people that are trying to improve their life. Because let's be honest, the devil doesn't going to stand by. He's not going to stay there and polish his fingernails while people are coming closer to Christ. He's going to step in and try to break it up. And this is what we have to fight as well.
Right,
And,
right.
and John, hey, thanks for gold. You're actually giving Father Ripperger and his staff a kudos, because they're the ones that wrote those prayers. I just asked permission to put them in my book, and he said absolutely. But you could also, those prayers, I got them on my iPhone. If you go to you can go on your iPhone and you can type in go to your iTunes store and type in Auxilium Christianorum and download them on your phone. So I'm telling people in hospitals, everywhere they're at, download these prayers on your phone, because sometimes that's easier than carrying around the book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely, Judge. Actually, I have it on my phone, too. I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hey, John, thanks a lot for your vote of confidence, and thanks for being a listener to Jesus 911.
Thanks for ordering all that stuff, too.
Yeah, thanks,
All
partner.
right, Eddie. Take it easy, guys.
God bless.
Got it right. God
All right.
bless you.
Go ahead,
And
Jess.
let's go into now what Adam Bly talks about. He talks about a three-pronged solution
Right.
to demonic infestation of a house. So here's the three things that Adam suggests. Number one, he says education. Talk with people about the nature of demonic trickery so they will no longer be deceived into thinking they are helpless, that it is a ghost, that it is their friend or warrants their sympathy. Talk with the people about their religious beliefs and spiritual life. Find out if they've been involved in the occult or other religious or spiritual activities that can invite the demonic in. If they have, help them renounce this and confess it in the sacrament of reconciliation. Remove all objects and books associated with the occult from the home and help them understand that the foundation of their spiritual life is essential for any lasting help to be achieved. Adam Bly is basically saying something that I've been saying for years. People get in these they get wrapped up in spiritual ailments and spirit and diabolical vexation and annoyance and torment and all this stuff, because number one, they haven't opened their heart to Jesus. They haven't had that encounter with Jesus. You have to have that, you can see me on YouTube. Throw your arms up. Jesus, I'm done. I surrender. I'm yours now. Take my life. That's called conversion. Every Catholic has to do that. And then you got to start learning your faith. That's what Adam Bly is talking about here. Learn the 10 Commandments. Learn the power of the 7 sacraments. Right. Learn the 7 deadly sins. Learn morning prayers. Learn the 12 noon Angelus. Learn the 3 p.m. Divine Mercy. Start reading through the gospel, John chapter 6, the power of the Eucharist. That's what Adam is saying. We've got to give people the proper catechesis, because this is what gives them, as he said in his last sentence, that lasting help in the spiritual life. Eddie?
Jess, one of the other things, too, is that once you've examined these things and talked over them, some people may still experience some problems. And this is what I found. A lot of times you ask them, so who are you living with? Well, I'm living with, my children, and it's a single parent or whatever. And they say, how are your kids doing? Oh, they're fine. There's no problem. In other words, they want to focus the attention on their kids. But what we have found out after looking into these things is that the house is blessed. There's sacred images. There's still things going on. Some of the teens might be doing something with either a computer in their room, with their iPhone, with their cell phone in their room. They might be participating in things that they're forbidden to do of pertaining to our faith. So if you have a teen that's in his room and he's blocked off from the rest of the family, everybody else is praying, and he's on a spirit board, on the Ouija board, this can be problematic. So you have to make sure that as the primary priest of your family, whether you're a man or a woman, okay, we'll say that. But if you're the responsible for the spirituality of your home, you have to be aware of everything that's going on there. And so this is something that's important too, is that we have to make sure that the teens that are very vulnerable in age are taken care of and have been addressed in any investigation. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, that's important.
You got it. Point number 2, Adam says we got to clear off the evil spirits. How do you do it? These 3 points. Remove any possibly cursed objects or occult books and paraphernalia. 2, have the house thoroughly blessed and possibly have a simple exorcism performed on the premises. And any Catholic priest can do that. 3, possibly have a priest come and say mass at the house. So those are 3 ways to clear out evil spirits. Eddie?
Yep. So number 3, the third way to do this is fortify the family and home spirituality. And this is essentially, putting together everything we've said. Number 1 is after the house, or number A, letter A, after the house blessing, do the blessing of the threshold, epiphany blessing of the threshold, to resist the demons coming back into the house once expelled by the prayers and blessings. B, place a blessed religious symbol in each room in plain sight. And then C, encourage the person to develop a positive relationship with God and to strengthen their spiritual life. And I think that's really just the most important aspect of this whole thing, because if we're successful in having everybody come to Christ, to change their life, to develop a relationship with their Lord and Savior, some of these things will go away on their own. I think that's the result of it. So be aware that the process of infestation, either the lie of a good ghost or the instilling of fear through noises, often leads to the deeper problem of demonic oppression. And that's the next session we're going to talk about is demonic oppression.
That's right. There's a passage in the book of Sirach where it talks about the power of a blessing. It says, well, I'll share it with you in the next segment so you can see that you as parents have power and authority over your children. It comes from the book of Sirach. I'll go through the relevant verses because this is demons know this spiritual authority that you have, and we have to use it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with more of Jesus 911. Stay with us.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. There's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet 3 men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Soul Patrol Jesus 911, talking about demonic infestation. You know, one of the benefits of going to a small parish is that last thing that Eddie read there, how to fortify your family and home spiritually, is that Eddie read where it says, after the house blessing, do the blessing of the threshold, the epiphany blessing of the threshold to resist the demons coming back into the house once expelled by the prayers and blessings. This is the pre-Vatican II tradition that you'll find in a lot of the Latin Mass parishes. Ruben is very aware of it, Matt Arnold, Ed Mazza. In fact, in the Latin Mass parishes, which are much smaller than the Novus Ordo parishes, generally speaking, the priest will go to everybody's house, and with chalk, he'll write the year of our Lord over your house on the Feast of the Epiphany.
Holy chalk.
And then, with holy chalk and stuff. And that's exactly what Eddie talked about. This kind of seals your house from any demonic infestation. You can do it. You don't need a priest to do it. You can get on the internet and you can type in yourself Epiphany blessing. The man of the house, and the husband and wife can do it yourself. Just don't fall off the ladder. And you have to have the chalk blessed, but you can do it yourself. And it's one of those old school traditions, which is very, very good. There's also another tradition. This is about maybe 150 years old that I would recommend for any Catholic for them to do it. It's called the Sacred Heart Home Enthronement. Okay. The Sacred Heart of Jesus Home Enthronement. You can get on the internet. You don't need a priest to do this. You can, but you don't need to. Mom and dad, you print out a series of prayers. You take the Sacred Heart of Jesus picture, have it blessed by a Catholic priest. Then you've got to enthrone the Sacred Heart of Jesus picture and put like a little altar underneath and flowers. Make a little shrine for it and enthrone it in the most prominent place in your house, generally speaking, the living room. And the father leads the kids and the wife in a prayer. Okay, it's about 20 minutes. You go back and forth. But what home enthronement is the father of the house is officially, in the presence of his wife and kids, is officially recognizing Jesus Christ as the King and Lord of the house. And basically, throughout the prayers, the father is inviting Jesus into the house, and he's saying, Jesus, I give you authority over this family. I give you authority over my marriage. So it's like a little ceremony. It takes 20 minutes. And there's also reparation prayers for people who have committed sacrilege against our Lord. But I can tell you that anybody listening to the show say, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. Go to the store, buy a picture of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, put a beautiful golden frame on it. You know, don't be cheap. Take it to your pastor, priest, have it blessed. Go on the internet. It's called sacredhomeenthronements.com. Print out the prayers, and you can tell your kids, hey, this Sunday I want everybody to come to the house. If your kids are older, bring your wives, grandkids. If your kids are still at home, well, you have more control of them. Say, we are going to give this house to Jesus, and I'm going to do it, but I want all of you to do it along with me. It's something that they won't forget. And then also on the internet, you print out a piece of paper, and then you sign the date that you did this. And that's just another way you're putting the devil on notice, saying, guess what, Satan? This house belongs to Jesus. You got no business here. Get out. Scram.
And just if you remember, that's what Sophia and Marcos did. Some friends of ours
Yeah,
from
we went over there. We went for that.
we went for that whole thing, and they made a big day of it. They had food and everything. It was really a beautiful event. But yeah, that's something we could do as well. So okay, so we have another section to talk about here, Jess. It's
Sure. Go ahead.
The process can involve the following. It says affecting the emotions and the body. This can take the form of depression, withdrawal from friends and family, anger issues, scratching or biting the body, speaking in the mind of the person, beatings from disembodied spirits. I'm going to say something about that right now, and other forms of assault. This is done to wear the victim down emotionally and isolate them from people that care about them. Of course, not every case of depression is demonic. So this is the only place, Jess, where I'm not sure if I tend to agree with Adam Bly on this. He says beating from disembodied spirits. Now, if I'm understanding correctly, disembodied spirits is a human soul, and I was taught that disembodied spirits don't affect human beings in that way. It's usually a plea for help. So unless he's talking about something else here, I wouldn't include that. But he does.
I think disembodied also, it's just another way of saying spirit, a person that doesn't have a body, which is a demon or an angel as well. So
Okay.
I think he's using it in a wider sense.
Angelic sense. Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
The next one is affecting the thoughts of the victim. This can take the form of paranoia, distrust of others, irrational beliefs, intrusive thoughts that seem to come from somewhere else. This is done to wear the victim's sense of reality down and eventually make them more vulnerable. This could be normal psychosis, which needs to be ruled out. Jesse, this is a lot of the things that the guys that he was working with in prison exhibited to him. Paranoia,
Absolutely.
distrust of everybody. This is a step-by-step process by which bad things happen to people who have given some of their lives, or maybe even all of their lives, to the demons. So this is important.
This is the way the demons start breaking you down.
Yeah.
They start breaking you down. And the end game of a demon, I'll be honest with you, is suicide.
Yep.
That's the end game.
Now we should interpret, just that doesn't mean that necessarily that you go to hell when you die in this state.
The catechism is pretty clear
Right.
on the section on suicide. It's under the 5th commandment. Everything has to do with the state of your mind when you die. Did you know when you commit suicide, did you have full knowledge and total deliberate consent to the will, where there was no mitigating circumstance,
Right.
like mental illness, mental retardation, your synapses just went crazy and stuff, because there can be some mental disorder where a lot of people fall into this type of deep depression and kill themselves. So the catechism says it's all if the person did this with their full faculties, full reasoning, or was there some mental inhibition, some mental disorder that may have caused this.
And just it goes to either the full consent of the will, right, or knowledge.
If it's a mental disorder, you can't get full consent to the will.
You can't get it. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
And let me just mention
go
one
ahead.
thing, Eddie, just to put some meat on the bones here.
Yeah.
This happened in my house, and so my
remember.
daughter, probably about 10 years ago, she was having, probably 11th or 12th grader in high school, she was having acute nightmares, okay? And she never had, she's already like 15, 16, 17. She's having acute nightmares. And at night, you find your 16-year-old girl in bed with you and your wife, okay? I'm saying this is not normal. What's going on? Her bedroom was right next to ours. So my wife is saying, what's going on with you? Why are you having nightmares? We pray at night and we go to mass. I said, I don't know, Mom. I don't know what it is. And she was very clear. I said, what do you see? She said, there's a big man. Dad, he's about 3 times bigger than you. He's a giant. He stands at the foot of my bed. I said, does he have any features? He's dark, so I can't see him. He's like a black mist, but he's like 7 to 9 feet tall. And he stands at the foot of my bed, and you could feel his terrifying presence. And I go underneath the blankets and I'm scared and I shake all night, or I just run out of my room and go to your room. So my wife, she just says, okay, something's not. So we're praying over her, blessing her at night. And my wife says, she started snooping around her room one day and she found a bag that she'd never seen there. She was hanging in her closet, and it was a bag that had it looked like occult designs. It didn't look like a Catholic bag or a Protestant bag. So my wife said, "This is weird. I've never seen her have this. It was kind of stuffed in the closet somewhere." She came home and my wife asked her, "Honey, whose is this bag?" She said, "Oh, a friend of mine gave it to me at work." I said, "Who is this friend?" And she goes, and my daughter wasn't really sure, didn't really know. She goes, "Oh, she's a nice girl, but I said, my wife said, "Is she Catholic?" "No, she told me, because I did ask her. She told me she's Wiccan." My daughter had no idea what it was, witchcraft. Wiccan, honey, she's a witch. What? Yeah. We said, my wife said, "I'm taking this. We're going to burn this." We went to the backyard and we had her see. We burned the bag. It was the Wiccan bag with all kinds of Wiccan symbols. We burned it into ashes. I sprinkled holy water on it. I scooped it up, put it in a plastic bag, and threw it in a dumpster in a parking lot of a supermarket. Nightmares gone.
Yeah.
No nightmare after that again. She slept in her room all night. So again, the demonic infestation of her bedroom, it was local in my house. It was her bedroom. It was because she received an occult object, whether she knew it or not.
Right.
Demons don't care. They'll play on your ignorance. She had it in her room. She invited evil spirits to her room. They were appearing to her. She was descriptive of how they looked. Yeah. Scared the hell out of her. Once we burned the object and blessed it and got rid of the ashes, and I threw it away from the property, never had a nightmare after that. She went back to her room and slept there the whole time till we. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember when that happened, Jess. You ended up telling everybody afterwards, and you kind of chilled everybody. You chilled everybody at that time. You told my family. Okay, so the next thing we're talking about here is affecting the sleep of the victim. The victim is often bothered by nightmares of a demonic nature, disturbed in their sleep, so they get little rest, or waking to see things in their room. This is done to wear the victim down and make them fatigued. Of course, sleep disorders need to be ruled out by a sleep study. So this is another thing. This ties into what Jess said. But the lack of sleep is something that's necessary for people to become partially or fully possessed. This is what other exorcists say in their books. Sleep deprivation is so important. That's why doctors will always tell you get your full 7-8 hours of sleep a night, and make sure that you have enough rest, you're eating well, et cetera, so that that doesn't become an issue, and doesn't become an issue spiritually either. And the last thing that he says is causing the victim to hear voices, either in their head or in the room with them. The voices often encourage the victim to do negative things and avoid positive people. It is important to be sure these voices are not part of a mental illness or side effect of a medication or physical disease. So this gets a little tricky, Jess, because you have to rule out mental issues here. You have to rule out mental disorders, etc. But it's always good to know once these studies have been done, and it can be addressed spiritually. That's a good part of this.
And one last verse I want to end with for you fathers, especially Sirach chapter 3, verse 9. It says this: "For a father's blessings strengthens the houses of the children." I'll say it again. For a father's blessings strengthens the houses of the children. Guess what that says? Even if your children are gone and don't even live with you, your prayers for them at night still provide a protection over them.
What's that section, Jess?
Sirach chapter 3, verse 9.
There it is. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us. We're going to cut out a little early today. And stand by for Hands-On Apologetics with Gary Machuda next. Take care. God bless.
Saint Faustina's Prayer for Priests. O my Jesus, I beg thee on behalf of the whole Church, grant it love and the light of thy Spirit, and give power to the words of priests, so that hardened hearts might be brought to repentance and return to thee, O Lord. Lord, give us holy priests. Thou thyself maintain them in holiness. O divine and great High Priest, may the power of thy mercy accompany them everywhere, and protect them from the devil's traps and snares, which are continually being set for the souls of priests, May the power of thy mercy, O Lord, shatter and bring to naught all that might tarnish the sanctity of priests. For thou canst do all things. Amen. Virgin most powerful, pray for us.